Welcome to the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into the show. We are the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. We have Chris down below, Joe to my right, and Rich the other way. I never know which way this turns, so I just,
it's like the Brady
camera
Bunch
angles.
ball.
No, literally though.
So what's going on, everyone? So how you guys doing?
You know,
Fantastic.
I'm doing
Playing?
more fantastic than Chris.
Getting ready for that football season. So, on today's show, we're going to talk about 2024 redraft sleepers. There's a lot of guys that you're happy with drafting, and some guys that are diamonds in the rough. So we're going to go through a couple of our candidates for that. But before we start, I'm going to ask you first, Chris. How do you define a sleeper for you? Because I know the definitions sometimes change for different people. So what do you think?
I have a pretty solid definition. I like it a lot. A sleeper is a precursor to a league winner. Basically, the meaning is your sleeper is someone you probably pick within the later rounds. They could end up being a league winner, but 9 times out of 10, you're hoping this person finds a way to solidify a flex or the RB2 wide receiver 2 slot for you. Something to that extent. Something that in case something happens and someone gets injured or whatever, this guy right here isn't the best, but will be suitable and could possibly push you over the line to make it into playoffs or even better, make it to the next round, so on and so forth.
Nice. What about you, Rich?
I mean, well said there, Chris. I think you pretty much summed it up. I mean, I'm kind of just about the same. A player that I guess you could say was maybe left for dead and forgotten about, and that's why they've been pushed down because of reasons of people say they suck or they're not good. But when you kind of peel open the onion a little bit more, there's a couple more layers in there, and there's things that you could potentially be missing out on or not realizing, and with just a little bit of a different situation, a season to the next, they can all of a sudden explode and give you that fantasy value that you currently were sleeping on.
Gotcha. Joe, same thing, or you got a different?
I think it's pretty simple. It's players that are being drafted way lower than you think they should be getting drafted.
Well said. That's exactly my thing. You're looking at guys that you don't have to take too much risk on because they're later, but guys that are going to jump a tier. If you're drafting the wide receiver 36, if they finish inside the top 24, that's a sleeper to me. They paid off in a big way for whatever reason. So, with that being said, why don't we dive right into it here? So, Chris, why don't we let you go first? Because you didn't let us know who your picks were. So let's listen to them. Who's the first?
Sure.
one?
So yeah, my first one is a combination of two, for pretty much the same reason. I have Marquise Brown / Xavier Worthy. Now I did a couple of redraft mock drafts over the past week, about 7 or so. So I have some averages, and while the statistics and the numbers aren't perfect by any means, it still tells the story that these Chiefs wide receivers are very down the list at the current moment. We were actually talking about before the show had started that, I had some disagreements with we always hit taking this guy this high up or whatever, blah blah blah, because it's the Chiefs, and in reality it's they're always so haphazard, whatever. But in reality, for now, right? I found most of them like Marquise Brown or Hollywood Brown, 8th round. I mean, at that point in the draft, you're looking for your sleeper anyway. It's you already got your whole lineup all filled out. You don't really care too much. I know that's what I usually do, and I'm looking for guys. And if he shows up my play, I mean, there's of course there's a couple others there that you could definitely take the risk on, but I find the fact that both of them, I mean, Xavier Worthy's the round after, right? So around 8, 9, Marquise Brown 7, 8, something to that extent. I mean, either of them, all it takes is just a little bit of a push, and they're I mean, look at Rashid Rice, right? It took him half the season about to actually find prominence, and the second he did, he started getting picked up from free waivers or free agency. If you just have it on your team beforehand, you don't gotta worry about the waiver wire if you just already have them. So I'm gonna go with that combination there as my first set for the same reason. Um, as my first set of sleepers.
Gotcha. My whole thing with that, I know we were talking pre-show. I am not of the opinion that the Chiefs wide receivers there is going to be a number one wide receiver outside of Travis Kelce. So the past couple of years, I've been a little bit hesitant to draft a Chiefs wide receiver just because ever since Tyreek Hill left, they've been searching for that number one. We thought that was going to be Rashid Rice, but now things are up in the air, and then we have Xavier Worthy. Look at Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney. Those were all
Okay, hold
bumps
on.
up
Don't look at Kadarius Toney. Come on, let's be honest. He
He
was
was
toast
there.
before. He was toast before he went to that team. Relax.
Yeah, but same thing with those guys. They got a bump up just because they are catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. So I think as a fantasy community and as fantasy managers, we've all been like, oh, it's Patrick Mahomes. I'll take that. At what point do we get rid of that narrative and just look at it and be like, all right, if they had any other quarterback, would we be doing the same thing? I know I'm not besmirching Patrick Mahomes, but that's
I'd
just
like to
my
counter if
opinion.
that's okay.
Go for it.
What was the highest round on average that a Chiefs wide receiver got drafted last year, and who was it?
I would have to
Are
look.
we
but
not
I
counting
would
Travis
assume
Kelce?
Oh, we're not. Yeah, correct. We are not counting Travis Kelce. Just the wide receiver role.
I'm looking
I
right
would
now.
like to ask that question solely because I would like to think it wasn't that high as well. Because I feel like we're already at that point that you're saying. I feel like we're already at the point of we can't trust these guys, which is why you're okay with taking the risk here, right? You're hoping that it's not so much of a trust of like it's Patrick Mahomes. You're just hoping that like something melds together correctly, that you get that sort of chemistry going. Like, yeah, sure, the year after Tyreek Hill was gone, 100%. But I remember last year, I can't think on the top of my head of a
I think
wide receiver.
Tony was taken. Kadarius Toney was like 111 ranked
Yeah,
overall, so it's
so
pretty deep.
I'm gonna stand by my guns here. I feel like what you're saying isn't incorrect. I just feel like it's already coming to pass. We're here already. We're already at the point where we're not really trusting the wide receivers, and if you're willing to take the risk, like I am, I guess, on both of them, go for it.
sounds good. All right.
I'm gonna do my
So
second one,
Joe,
or oh no, okay, no, never mind.
we'll go to Joe next, and we'll just round this out. If it ends up being a little too long, we'll do a two-part show for everybody. So stay tuned. You'll know before we do right now because it'll be in the show description. So Joe, who is your first sleeper?
My first sleeper is none other than Mr. Cooper Kupp.
Ooh.
Matt knows I've been talking to him. I've been a big advocate of Cooper Kupp. Look at him in 2022. He was ranked number 6 overall. 2023, ranked 18 overall. And now here we are going into 2024, and he's ranked number 41 overall. So if you think about that in a 10-team league, you're getting Cooper Kupp in the 4th round. And don't get me wrong, I love Puka. I think he's a great player, but I don't think we just dismiss Cooper Kupp off that team as a 4th round wide receiver. I still think he's easily a 2nd round, maybe even I'd argue he could even be a 1st round if he stays healthy wide receiver with Matt Stafford in that offense. They just click together, and I think getting him in the 4th round is a definition of a steal, and he's one of my sleepers.
I
I
completely
love
agree.
that. I love Cooper
100%.
Kupp this year.
I think he's very undervalued. I am not entirely sure how he ended up being at the bottom of the 4th round.
I was shocked.
Age.
True. I
And
mean, but it's
injury.
redraft.
That's
It's
it.
redraft. It's redraft. guy
That's
gets
true.
through half the season. Puka Nacua shows up, and all of a sudden he's like at the bottom of the 4th round. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, I mean Tyreek Hill is also age, but he's at the top, so I mean,
Exactly.
come on.
It's a combination of age and injury. So with the Rams, we've talked even on the last mock draft show me and Joe were on. We were talking about Matt Stafford and potentially missing time just because he's a little older. He's dealt with injury himself, so that offense could change. But it's still Cooper Kupp, and nothing that I've seen in the underlying metrics has showed that Cooper Kupp has really lost a step. When healthy, he's been kind of the same guy. I don't think he's going to do another triple crown year. I don't think he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver, but definitely going to meet the ADP for a fourth round wide receiver.
100%.
So
100%.
I love that pick.
Agreed.
All right, Rich, who is your first sleeper?
So my first sleeper is Will Levis, quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And so really it's just starting with looking at last season. I know things looked rough. Obviously, we understand there is some question marks in his game, but it was a whole kind of different scheme, I feel like, last year, where they focused more on Derrick Henry. Vrabel being there, I feel like it was just kind of hand in hand. That's how he ran his offense and all. And also there was just no real help at the wide receiver position. So really, it's just a combination of all those things. It's easy to kind of blame it all and to see that it's not going to work. But even though all that, he still managed to rank 15th in fantasy points during that second half of the season when he was getting the start. So this year, looking at it, they have kind of revamped everything there, starting with Tony Pollard. With getting rid of Derrick Henry, they've added Tony Pollard, who's actually who has the 12th most receptions among running backs over the past 3 years. And they also added two stud wide receivers. I mean, in my opinion, as with DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. So I just really think that all of this together is good news for Will Levis, who is going to be now stepping into his second year, hopefully a little more comfortable with what's going on. And we pair that also with the new OC coming over from Cincinnati. So I'm definitely very interested to see what all of this can do for Will Levis. So.
Can I pose a question to you, Rich?
Sure.
I'm trying to look here to find like his average draft position, and I see a lot of times he doesn't get drafted. So I would like your point of view. Is this like do you draft him like last round, second to last round, or something like that? Is that where like you see this going, or is this like a week, after draft, day after waiver wire pickup on Will Levis? Are you sacrificing the spot for somebody else on your roster in the during draft, or is this like someone you're willing to like go down to there and then go after and drop someone from your team? Not that it matters too much at that point in the draft. I'm just curious.
Right. Well, I mean, I definitely think that just as you mentioned, he's kind of going undrafted in a lot of these drafts right now. So, people don't believe, I mean, they see the question marks that are obvious there. So it's, yeah, I mean, I would take the chance on him as far as a fill-in if kind of are already kind of playing the gamble on quarterback and you kick quarterback down late, and you're taking these kind of prime positions and filling them in there. I mean, I think we'll be talking about Will Levis more often than not this season. I think he's going to surprise us from that first step. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say he's going to get himself, launched into where it's like substantial, but I mean, there is definitely a room for improvement there, especially with the absence of Derrick Henry. I mean, they're going to have to at some point start giving him the ball, and he's going to start running more. I mean, he did in college, so I can see him getting a couple rushing touchdowns and really adding to his totals there by the end. So
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. Calvin Ridley entering that offense, despite a pretty down year in 2023, I think is going to be. They're surrounding him with weapons, so he's going to be able to make anything out of the situation. But I think they're setting him up in the right way. So I agree. I think Will Levis is definitely going to be a value this year and could very easily pose that same rushing upside as some of these other guys. So he's going to hopefully help his ADP, make him return an investment for you. So.
Before you go on, I just want to say one thing. I like this sleeper pick a lot more than your Dontavian Wicks hot take, Rich. Just want to let you know that you're doing a lot better right now. Congratulations.
There's a reason why we call them hot takes.
There are hot takes, and then there is the Buffalo Wild Wings like beyond super hot thing that you just did.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But, All right, so why don't I jump in here? My first sleeper is going to be someone who's tied to a quarterback I strongly dislike for fantasy, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think he has value. Rashid Shaheed, currently being drafted as the wide receiver 56 at 132nd overall. He is the Saints' deep threat. He had an average depth of target about 14.6 yards last season. He was building this connection with Derek Carr, and it was really frustrating being a Chris Olave manager, but the fact remains he was able to get it done. So he ended the season with a 65% catch rate. There's no one on that offense right now that is going to take away the number 2 wide receiver role from him. It's going to be Chris Olave as the 1 and then him as the 2. So I think now that Michael Thomas is gone and the lack of depth out of the wide receiver position on the Saints, he could see more targets as well. So although I don't think he's going to be, wide receiver 2, he's going to be an average flex play, but he will have the potential upside to win you a week or 2 across the season. And that is someone that you're getting super, super late in drafts. So to me, it's well worth that investment because I think he's going to beat it pretty easily. What do you guys think about Rashid Shaheed?
I'm
I think
not.
his name is fun to say. Start there.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, good start. I'm not opposed to this. I don't dislike it. I worry about the quarterback behind it. I worry about the Olave with it. Also worry about the Alvin Kamara that also takes passes. But I mean, like the trend is right. You're taking this guy as a risk. Like you know full well this might not pan out. And you're okay with that. So I'm not like opposed to this. I don't think I would do it personally.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I'm gonna stay away from him. I have a lot of questions for Derek Carr and this whole offense as to
Oh, I do too.
what they're gonna do. So for me, I definitely would stay away from this.
I want to put the disclaimer: this is Derek Carr, so he could very easily just the whole
he could
thing. But
he could be bad.
yeah,
It doesn't take a lot to be bad.
no, especially for him. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. All right, Joe. Actually, no, sorry, Chris. Who's your second sleeper?
Of course.
Scrambling around in different order.
My second sleeper is Zack Moss. On the Bengals now. This one's a little riskier than the other two. I feel like solely because of the competition behind him. Is where I kind of like get a little weird. The Chase Brown being right there is a little threatening in my personal opinion. However, where I feel like you're gonna get him in like the 7th, 8th round or something like that. I think sometimes also 6th, depending on where you're going over there. I'm not too opposed to taking him here. I like the prospect of him being the number 1 running back on that team that's probably not looking to run with Joe Burrow at all, given his injury history. They're probably going to try to be like, okay, so Joe, you're going to throw or you're going to hand off to this guy. It's me, one of the two. Nothing in between. I don't know exactly where he's going to slot in the void that Joe Mixon has left. Joe Mixon had a great season last year, which kind of inspires confidence in me that there's a chance he could fill that void. But knowing Chase Brown is there, I'm worried about a sort of committee role going on here. My hope is that he edges out and finishes as the RB1 going into the season.
I'm more on the Chase Brown side, as me and Joe talked about in our Superflex mock draft we did the other night. But it's a non-zero chance that they both could show a lot of value. One of them you're going to want, definitely.
Of course.
And Zack Moss very well could be the guy.
I would also like
I
to
just-
point out you can end the draft very easily with both of them on your team. We were talking about this before. The idea of like stacking the players and just having the number one guaranteed is I know Matt, we talked about before. Matt, you're not the biggest fan. I like the strategy. This is not like this isn't like a shot at you. Just like I totally understand why you don't like it because it's taking 2 slots in your thing. You're wasting a pick. I totally get that. But me, I like being able to guarantee having that guy personally, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's value in that. So,
But yeah,
all right, Joe, who is your second sleeper?
My second sleeper is Lad McConkey, who has an ADP of 99. So in a 10-man league, you're looking at getting him at the tail end of the 9th round for arguably could be the wide receiver 1 on the Chargers, if not the wide receiver 2 for sure. Getting him at the tail end, almost in the 10th round for wide receiver 1 or 2, playing with Justin Herbert, who is pretty good at football. Definitely think that's a nice sleeper pick, especially if you're drafting with league mates that don't follow rookies too closely or he's off their radar. Go ahead and grab him. That's a great pick at 999. Can't believe it.
Honestly, it's like the tails old its time, right? Random rookies dropping down that low. I mean, like also another thing we are talking about before the show: Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson last year, Zay Flowers. I mean, Rashid Rice went undrafted. Puka Nacua, I'm not really going to put in that caliber there. That was very lucky. In terms of like anyone getting him free waivers, no one's drafting him. But like it's a tails old as time. Rookie wide receiver entering a new lineup, obstacles to take over, and then just kind of blows up. It happens almost every year. I'm on Rice
It's
Bradley.
opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like we're all really kind of in on that, but I mean, it's going to be interesting just because Quentin Johnston, just the way that panned out. Also, new head coach and all coming in, so there's a lot of question marks there as well. I mean, definitely going to be interesting to watch. That's going to be one of the offenses I'm watching for sure this season.
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys have a lot of questions on them. These are just targets that we're really looking at, and we're a little bit higher on there, or see a path a little bit clearer than some other players.
We're willing to take
the
some
position.
risk here.
Yeah. So, but it's important to do that because if you don't take risks, if you just go, even keel the whole way through, you're going to miss out on some of these league-winning type players. And this is a good area to really, really build your roster and get enough upside, balance your roster out. Because you could start with studs. Awesome. I love having more studs on my team. But at the same time, bye weeks happen, injuries happen. There's other things. These are guys that can jump up a tier and really help you out. Yeah. And we've said it the past couple shows. Look at players. Don't only look at them in, all right, the whole season. Look at them in different periods of the season. Who's going to help me the first couple of weeks of the season? Who might, take a little bit of time to develop and then start getting into a rhythm and build on success from there. Those are very valuable players, and Lad McConkey, I think, fits that to a T. All right, Rich. Who you got next?
So my next guy is Bucky Irving, the rookie running back drafted 125th overall by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With Bucky, he is actually there are 10 other running backs that were drafted before him. And so kind of the situations that are all going on between them all. He actually is coming out as pretty much, I would say, the second best out of all the others to actually kind of gain into a starting or some sort of a real role on that offense there. So I mean, you're looking at other than maybe Brooks going to Carolina, maybe taking it from Chuba Hubbard, or maybe Miles Sanders, however you want to play it out there. I really do think that Bucky comes in and has the potential to really take over the role from Rachaad White. Rachaad White is not exactly, I mean, granted, he did play or have a good season last season, but it was kind of questionable season at best, really. I mean, if you're looking at actually the PFF rankings from last season, his rushing grade was the 11th lowest among all running backs. So that's definitely alarming. Not something that you're going to want from what is known as the RB1 on the team. And at that point, I think there is room for someone to dethrone him. So with that, Bucky Irving, I think you can take a shot on him, or at least if you're taking Rashad White early, I mean, Bucky Irving right now is running back 60 on as far as on Fantasy Pros list there for redraft. So I think you can get him late. It's kind of secure up your running back spot there a little better. So.
He's someone that might not be drafted, but is going to be, let's say Rashad White gets injured or something happens where he's falling out of favor, he will be the number one waiver wire addition in that week. So I like the strategy of drafting him if you have the depth spot, if you have the bench spots to do so, because then you just save yourself a little bit of fab. Or you don't have to blow a waiver priority to get him, because these are guys in season that their value will go way up potentially. So,
No,
Chris, I
I
want
agree.
to hear what you think.
Ton of me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't dislike this. I mean, obviously I dislike it because I'm a Rashad White owner in our dynasty league. So I dislike it on that end. But in terms of like an actual looking at it from like a logical point of view, I don't dislike it. I don't foresee him overtaking that RB1 role solely because on the other end of the spectrum, receiving is a huge part of his game as well. Honestly, passing is a huge portion of the Buccaneers game. To be quite honest with you, um, they're kind of like opposite Army football. Shout out to anyone who understands that joke. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the Rashad White losing the spot, but I am, taking it as like an insurance, like you said, Matt and Rich. You draft Rashad White earlier on. You see this guy, it's like near the end of the draft. No one's going to pick anything. I don't dislike grabbing your insurance measures because at the end of the day, right, if someone else goes down, you see someone else and you have high waiver priority, you can totally let him go and pick up that guy from free agency. It's basically a free bench spot, right? So I don't dislike it. You truthfully at that end, if you don't want to take a risk of anybody else, I don't mind taking the insurance policy.
yeah, agreed. All right, so let me finish this off here. I'm going to go with my final sleeper, Mr. Rico Dowdle on the Dallas Cowboys. He's currently going as the RB46, about 146 overall, so very, very end of your drafts. This one's really plain and simple. I try to target running backs on offenses that we were going to project as having high scoring upside. And I think we all are in agreement that Cowboys offense should be at least top half in the league.
As long as your fantasy league doesn't run into playoffs, you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Now I know everyone's probably like, oh, well, Zeke's back. And yeah, he is, but is there much left of him that we care about?
Anything but Zeke is back.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
Dalvin Cook went to the Jets last year, and everyone's like, oh my God, Dalvin Cook. He was done, and he's still done. He's not even on a team. There's a reason for that. So that's kind of the bucket I'm putting Zeke in. Now, he will have value, another late round pick, but, looking at Rico Dowdle in 2023, he couldn't overtake Pollard as a lead back, but Pollard didn't really meet expectations either. So it was more of a pass-heavy offense last year, despite what we all thought was going to happen. So these are the Dallas rushing touchdown totals going back to 2021. So 15, 24 in 2022, and then 14 last season. Dallas rushing yards, over the same period of time, they averaged about 2,100 total rushing yards on 490 attempts. So there's plenty of value there. There's a lot of work and a lot of volume, and the potential to be in scoring positions a little bit more than other offenses that might have a similar skill level running back group. It's going to be a committee. We all know that. If you don't, I'm sorry. We're breaking the news to you. It's going to be a running back by committee. But in those cases, I'm going to side with the younger, more explosive back in that committee. So if the Cowboys offense continues their offensive scheme, I think Rico Dowdle could be one of these guys we're talking about going into 2025 drafts. He was someone that helped me a lot last year because he beat his ADP. He's basically free. And if it's free, it's for me. So I love Rico Dowdle this season. What do you guys think about Rico? Staying away, or are we thinking he's going to show up?
Personally, as someone that has him, I'm kind of interested in trying to see what I can get for Zeke. I'm pretty sure I can get it pretty cheap. Get him for pretty cheap. Just as insurance, because I'm a little worried about who's starting over there. I mean, they signed this quick deal for him, almost, I mean, he knows the offense and all. So I could see him coming in and just being the RB1 or the goal line back there and kind of taking what will be the necessary touches from Rico. But at the same time, I mean, Rico's been there too, so it's not like it's that much of a difference, I guess, at this point. Seeing as Zeke did take a season off, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think for me personally, I'm going to kind of be hesitant, or if I'm going to take Rico, I'm kind of trying to take both, which I don't know if I really want to do that.
Rico Dowdle to me is someone, if you're going a zero RB strategy, he's going to be a target to leave your draft with because potential volume and upside. And you're just trying to go shotgun method at that point, and just I want to try to get as many of these guys as I possibly can.
Where's his ADP?
He is the running back 46, 146th overall. So
that's
pretty late.
So to make sure I said that, yeah. So I personally, in my opinion, things have to go right, much like with many other types of players like this. He is like a list of league winners, in my personal opinion. For me, you're getting this guy he'll probably end up in free waivers at some point, is probably the guess here, if he gets drafted at all. At some point, they'll probably, because Jerry Jones is there and he loves Ezekiel Elliott, he'll probably try to usher him as RB1, and it's not going to work. And I'm thinking like halfway through the season, Rico ends up being the guy. And as long as he does well, I mean, that checks all the boxes for me that scream league winner, right? All you got to do is end up as like, RB, like you finish the week as like RB 13 or 12 for a couple weeks, and that's just it right there. A consistent guy who finishes in the top half ends up in my flex or RB2 slot. I don't care. That's great. I'll take that any of the week.
If he finishes in RB2, I'm happy. That's perfect. I can trade him if I don't need him, or he's just that guy on my team. Slow and steady wins the race. But all right. Well, those are all of our sleepers right now. It's still July. There's going to be a lot of things that are moving, and this is why we're doing those mock draft shows just to kind of track ADP and stuff. So definitely check those out on our YouTube page. You can follow the show on X at the Heroes FF. We're on TikTok, Instagram. You can find us everywhere you find your podcasts. We're trying to put out more content and just get everyone ready, because before you know it, it's going to be draft season, and we're going to be talking about Week 1 waivers. So it's going to be very interesting. We're going to just keep coming at you with some stuff. So if any questions, follow the show and we'll help you out. So with that being said, I think that's going to do it. We'll see everyone on the next show. So long, everyone.
See you around.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.